The reason I never thought the Niners would go after Javon Hargrave is Arik Armstead. They're already paying him $20-something million a year at this point in his contract. And then they're going to be giving money to Nick Bosa. And I felt, man, that's a lot of money to be spending on 3 defensive linemen. Again, I thought that's why Buckner was gone. You got potentially $35 million a year for Bosa, $25 million something the next few years for Armstead, and now $20 million a year for, that's a lot. My question to you is, do you think the Niners intend to do this for a while? Or does this mean that maybe Armstead, if he has another season where he's in and out of the lineup and injured and not producing at a Pro Bowl level, he might get released next year or traded? They save $11 million if he's not in the team in 2024.
I mean, it's the NFL, so all options are on the table, and there's not a lot of time, there's not a lot of warmth for anybody, and there's nobody like, hey, you know what, we'll just keep him around because we like him. But
it's one of the guys.
Yeah, he's one of us. But Armstead's maybe in his own category because he is like an NFL man of the year. He's, helping children read in Sacramento, and he's like one of the faces of the 49er franchise in the community. And he's still a hell of a football player. I don't know if he's worth the money. We could debate that forever, but I mean, he's a hell of a football player, and he has a lot of respect. I think in a lot of ways, he's kind of like Jimmy Ward, I think they actually feel better about him than even maybe others do. So I think the Niners would work with Arik, but I also think Arik would work with the Niners to get at the right price going forward. So I don't see a parting of the ways. I actually see a marriage that's going to continue into the future.
Yeah, we haven't seen the details.
What cap number, you know what I mean? But
we haven't seen the details of the Hargrave deal yet. It's possible the first 2 years of the Hargrave deal are pretty affordable in terms of cap number, and he can coexist with Arik Armstead. And when Hargrave gets expensive, Armstead's gone or on another contract. Maybe that's how they structure it. It's just it occurred to me when this happened. It's like, does this mean that Armstead's going to get pushed out eventually? Like, is this the defensive tackle they want to be spending $20 million a year, or are they finally okay with spending it on 2? Again, I thought this is why Buckner is on the Colts. You couldn't spend for 2, but maybe that was a quirk of what their roster construction the last few years, and maybe now it's no problem. Cap's going up.
They felt like they had to make that move at the time for the cap, but they obviously erred. And I think they realized, hey, we had a guy who played games. Like DeForest Buckner didn't sit it out. He was healthy. He was good against the run. He was good against the pass. We had a defensive tackle in his prime who had to be combo blocked, good against run and pass, and we let him go. And you know what?
Him and Bosa together
in the same sense.
Haven't been back to the Super Bowl since. And now they can feel like at least they have that part of their Super Bowl formula back. Not that they won it, but they could get there. And maybe that's, a big reason that the Eagles beat the Niners in the NFC Championship game was their D-line was better. Straight up.
It's a long-standing 49er philosophy, too. I remember Bill McPherson and those guys were like, hey, they didn't feel like Dennis Brown and Ted Washington were good enough in the early 90s. And then all of a sudden it was like, you got to add BY, you got to add Bryant Young. And then when they added Bryant Young and Stubblefield in a couple of years, like 93, 94, all of a sudden they're in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Khalil says trading Mac would have been even worse. Here's an interesting thing. What would have been a better move? Trading up for Trey Lance or staying put and just taking Mac Jones at 12? Think about that.
Well, in hindsight, I think it's no doubt it would have been better to stay, in the present. But
stay.
There's always, all these things, these are all evolving things. Mac, I think I don't know that Mac's necessarily a shooting star. And right now Trey's, idling because he hasn't played, but he could go up.
Here's what you don't. Here's where the Niners made a mistake, in my opinion. You don't trade up for a spot in the draft. You trade up for a player. The Niners didn't know who was going to be available. You trade like what
they also thought the price might have been going up.
The Panthers traded up for.
You don't want the reactive trade. You don't want to be the second guy making the trade. Like, oh, now you need to make a trade because you don't want. I think they were proactive, but I personally think that they wanted Zach Wilson. That was my guess. And I think
again, like you can't trade up to number 3 and not know. It'd be like, oh, I hope Zach Wilson's going to be there. No, you can't do that. The Panthers traded up to number 1. They control everything. They'll take whoever the hell they want. I mean, you could argue that no one is worth that trade up, that whoever they select isn't really worth it. But The Niners didn't even, trade up for 3? If they had gotten 1, great. But you got 3. That's, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have made that trade. And I guess maybe they made the best choice when they got there, although Justin Fields looks pretty athletic. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, maybe in their mind they thought, hey, you know what? Lawrence is going 1, and we love Lance and we love Wilson, and we can one of them will be there.
Yeah, maybe. What did Jake Delhomme look like after UCL repair? Not good. Did he have a UCL repair? I know he had an elbow injury. He didn't look good.
I'm not up on my Jake Delhomme.
That was like 20 years ago, though. Problem Bless says, I think Sam, the perfect backup for Trey Lance. All right, Problem. Thank you for the donation. That Niner guy says, Larry, I agree that trading Trey Lance is very much on the table. I think it is a mistake, but if they are in all in win now mode and Lance is not the starter, Skoronski at right tackle might have a huge impact. It's true. It's true.
You're thinking Skoronski would be where the Niners would get him somehow.
I mean, at
11. Pick. I'll say this. You know what? My read on the Bears move was that they went down and they're going to take Skoronski, the Northwestern kid, at 9. Bears just traded the first pick and moved down and got DJ Moore, 2 1s, 2 2s, and they're at 9 now. I think Skoronski out of Northwestern is the guy that they want. So that even if the Niners got that 11th pick, I don't think Skoronski's there. I do like him though.
I also think it's possible that Kyle Shanahan is starting to feel like he doesn't have like an indefinite time with the 49ers to coach here. Like, was he have how many 3 more years on his contract? He just signed a very high priced 30-year-old defensive tackle. He might feel like to get his second extension with the 49ers, he might need to get back in the Super Bowl. So maybe he's going to start making more, short-term moves. Could be.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, everybody's focused on Trey, but what about what you could get coming back? Focus on that for a second. What if you could add a significant difference maker to your team on either side of the football? Maybe, do you really want to have that much, tied into your number 2 quarterback as opposed to maybe somebody who's going to help you win the Super Bowl like this year?
Yeah. Yeah. Trey and Sam, similar skill set. Yeah. In the sense that Trey has a really intriguing skill set and Sam doesn't. I'm sorry.
But they're both Sam Darnold fans. They're both 6'4". Yeah. I mean, other than being men and 6'4", there's like nothing. I don't see anything.
I'm sorry. We're not big Sam Darnold fans over here. Greg says, Grant, bet you a bottle of wine. Josh, Jimmy has a really good year with the Raiders. Krug, chill out. Darnold is upgrade 3rd string. Chill out. Trey stays. Here's the thing. I don't know what a really good year. I'll bet you a bottle of wine that he doesn't have a Pro Bowl year. How about that? That he doesn't go to a Pro Bowl. I don't even know who you are. I'm that confident. He ain't going to the Pro Bowl. Curtis says, what is Rita Oak going to do now? Drawing Javon Kinlaw every day until he gets traded. I can't believe she stuck to the bit for a year and a half.